Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Process. Today, I want to talk about phases of life. And I want to talk about one specific phase or period of our life, and that is the phase right before you have kids. Now, this has been really front of mind for me because, first of all, I have a whole bunch of friends at the moment who are either pregnant or have given birth in the last 7 or so days. But also, I'm reflecting on my own journey before I had my daughter and that period of life where we don't necessarily, actually, I would say we definitely don't realize how special it is. And so I want to just talk about that today and see what happens because I think that a lot of times we don't really talk about it very much. You know, you the the trajectory is often you finish high school and then you go to college or university, maybe you meet someone and then eventually you get engaged and you get married. You know, you don't necessarily get married, but you're in some sort of a committed relationship and maybe you've done a bit of travel, you've been working in your job for a few years, maybe you're somewhere between 27 and 31ish, and you're starting to think about having kids. You're starting to think about starting a family and what that's going to look like, and you're getting really excited. And if you have been in a committed relationship for a few years and you're a woman, I am sure that you have been hearing the question over and over and over. Have you guys started talking about kids? When are you guys going to have a kid? Are you guys pregnant yet? What's the plan for kids? Constantly hearing this narrative of when is it going to happen? And when are you guys going to start? Because it's so amazing and it's the best thing ever. And, you want to have kids while you're young and whatever else people decide to share with you. And they're right, of course, that having kids is the best and it is amazing. And it is something that will change your life in every possible way and in so many beautiful ways. But I also think that we severely underestimate, because we don't know, we severely underestimate just how much our life does change when we become a mom. And because of that, there isn't really much conversation. At least I never heard much conversation around how important it was for me to go after what I wanted and to live my life to the fullest that I could before I had kids. Now, I'm not saying that you can't live your life to the fullest and that you can't achieve big things after you have a child, because I'm doing it right now. I have an 18-month-old and I'm going after what I want, and it's amazing. And being her mom is absolutely amazing. But I have had a couple of conversations recently with people who are in this phase before kids. So they're either married or engaged or maybe close to being engaged. Some sort of committed relationship is happening, right? And they're around my age, around 30, and they're really starting to think, okay, well, when is this going to happen? What if it takes a while? There's lots of issues that can come up with fertility, and there's all these things you have to think about. But this conversation that's been happening, where there's this sense of pressure to kind of get started and to go after it, where I feel like I have this huge desire to share about why this specific phase of life, right before you become a mom, is one of the most beautiful and most important and sacred times in your life. The reason why I think that is because this is the last time ever, until you have kids that are moving out, and that's ages away. But even then, I would say I'm not there yet. But even then, I would say you don't go back to who you were before. This is the last time in your entire life that you get to put you first, that you get to choose everything that you do based on what you want. When you have a child, that is no longer the case. You can still do lots of things. You can still live a very full life, absolutely. But that doesn't negate the fact that this period right before you have a baby is all about you. And we forget that. We get into our routines and we get into our patterns. We've got this job, we've got our partner, we've got our friends, and we're living in our comfortable little bubble. And we're so excited about what this next phase is going to look like that we're almost wishing this time away. And if there's one thing that I can urge you to do, if you're listening to this, it is just to slow down and to really take a moment to think about, what do I actually want? What is it that maybe I've been putting off? Are there any adventures or goals or hobbies or a trip that I have been talking about for years but haven't made happen yet? Because if that exists for you, if there is some sort of yearning or longing to do something for you, please do it. At least give it a try. At least give it some space in your mind to consider what it would look like to spend 6 months or 12 months either saving up to go on that trip or to committing to some classes, some dance classes, if that's something you've always wanted to do, or maybe it is to do something specific with your partner that you've always wanted to do. It is such an important time. You will never get this time back, and this phase of your life, once that window closes, once that baby gets here, that phase of your life is over. It's never going to come back. It's never going to be the same again. You're going to go on to have amazing adventures and amazing times with your family, with your children, but you will be a different version of you. You will unlock a whole new level of yourself, a whole new identity that you don't even know exists right now. You don't even have an inkling of an understanding of what it's going to be like. And that's a cool thing, right? Like, how amazing is it that we get to live in this period where we don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know what that's going to look like. We know it's going to be beyond our wildest dreams. And at the same time, we can acknowledge that our current self before kids is also worthy of having that beyond our wildest dreams life, of being able to do the hard things or challenge yourself, step out of your comfort zone, try the new thing and mess it up. Who cares? Because once there is another little person that's looking to you and needing you for everything, you're not going to be able to put yourself first the way that you can right now. I wish that I had had more of these conversations when I didn't have a kid yet. Not because I feel like I have regrets necessarily. There was, for me, a massive push to, I wasn't ready, actually. I really wasn't ready to have kids. There was this massive push for me to go after this trip that I really wanted to do. I really wanted to go back to Europe. I hadn't been there since I was in high school, and I wanted to do it in the way that I wanted to. I wanted to do it with my husband and just have time just for us. And we had put it off for a couple of years. And I had basically said to him, I'm not even willing to entertain the idea until we've done this trip, because I know that I need to do this for me. And I'm so proud of myself for having the guts to stick with that. Because like I said at the beginning of this episode, I too, just like you probably have, I was constantly getting inundated with these questions about kids and well-meaning comments, of course, of how they couldn't wait for me to start a family and how it was so exciting and how it was going to be this beautiful next step. And I appreciated that, but I also, I think, yearned for someone to say to me, hey, it's okay that you don't want to do that yet. It's okay that you have these dreams, and it's okay to give those dreams some space to breathe and to live and to create for yourself. Because like I said, it's such a finite period of time. you have gone through all the struggles of finding that person that you want to spend your life with, which, that was a journey in and of itself, lots of trials and tribulations happening there for the most part, for most of us anyway. You find that person and you're starting to get into that rhythm. You're feeling really good. You're feeling really secure and happy, and things are moving, right? They're moving forward. You're really excited. Whether you get married or not, you potentially are starting to think about having kids. And that's when we can go almost straight into the next phase. Like, okay, yep, I got the relationship, we got married, whatever. Now it's time to get pregnant and have a baby. And that little period of time, that little block of time, oh my goodness, it is so precious. Not just for you, even actually. It's for you and your partner. It's for both of you together to really just soak up this time as a couple and to do fun things together where you can just decide last minute to go, hey, we want to go here for the weekend, or we want to go out for dinner, or we're going to go to this concert, late night concert, and we can just go do that on a whim. Let's buy tickets last minute. It's those little moments. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the big dream. It doesn't have to be that you're going to do this big Europe trip like my husband and I did. It's all these little moments of how much choice and freedom you have to honestly do whatever the heck you want, to spend your days how you want to outside of your work hours, to choose how you're going to show up for yourself, and know that like you are the only person you have to show up for. That is such a gift. And we rush past it. We just rush straight through it and go on to the next thing, which is becoming a mom. And before we become a mom, we just don't realize how much it's going to change us. I knew, you hear online, you hear that when you become a mom, you go through matrescence and it changes you. I understood that conceptually, but I didn't understand it physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, all of the things. It's one of those things you can't understand until you live it. And so now that I'm on the other side and I'm 18 months in to being a mom, I can look back at that period of my life so fondly. And it is so special to me. There are memories that I will always cherish because I know that I was taking the time to put myself first, and I was doing my best to block out all the noise from people telling me to hurry up and have kids. And I was focused on me. And thank God for that, because like I said, it goes by so fast and then it's gone. It's one of those things, you have these different windows of life, and every window of your life offers new opportunities. When you're 18 to 22 or whatever, and you're single or however long you are single, that's a phase of life. You have certain choices, you have certain freedoms, you have certain opportunities, and it's amazing. It's also hard in certain ways. There's upside and downside to this phase. Then you find your person, and now you have new opportunities, new choices, new freedoms, and it's different. And you step into this new version of yourself and you're like, wow, okay, this feels so good. I love this. And then we've got this next phase of stepping into parenthood and everything that comes along with that. It's a massive one. And that one never really ends, right? As soon as you have kids, it's like, well, this is the newest and latest version of me, and it's never going to go away because I'm always going to be a parent. I can't speak to what those next windows are because this is the latest window that I've gotten to. But I know now from the pattern of being able to see these different periods in my life that you get to do certain things in that window while it's there. And then someday that window closes. And when it closes, it doesn't open back up. And, the opportunities and the freedoms that happened that were available when I was 22 are no longer a thing. I don't even necessarily want to do the things that I was doing at 22, but thank God that I took chances and risks and made mistakes and made a fool of myself while I was at that age. And so this applies the same way for this period of right before you become a mom, of just really taking some time, whether you meditate on it, whether you journal about it, whether you just sit down and think about it or talk with friends about it, talk with your partner about it, and get really clear on what is it that I want and what are the things that maybe I'm holding back from doing? What are the things that I daydream about at night or that keep me up at night that I wish that I had the courage to do? Could I do one of those things? Could I back myself enough to give it a chance while I have so much bandwidth, so much time? God, we think we're so busy before we have kids. I remember even complaining. So silly. I remember complaining to my friend who was a mom, shout out to you, Abby, about how tired I was and how busy I was. Meanwhile, she had I think 1.5-year-old, so the age of my daughter right now, at home, who wasn't sleeping very well. Oh my gosh, the ignorance of me back then. and that wasn't intentional, right? And that's what I mean, is that you don't know. You just don't know until you're in it. So I can give myself grace, but it's also hilarious to think about when you're in the phase that you're in, especially right before you become a parent. You think that you're so busy and you're so tired and you don't have enough space or time or whatever to do the thing. But seriously, if you can make the time, if you can find the energy to start that hobby, to start the business, start posting online, start your podcast, start running every day, start lifting weights, start cooking meals with fresh ingredients. There are so many different options. You have to find what it is for you, but you have to give yourself enough space to actually acknowledge that those desires exist, and then back yourself and respect yourself enough to do it before your choices and your time change. When you become a mom, all of that changes and it won't ever go back. So that's really all I wanted to say today. It's just been on my heart because I don't think that we talk about this enough. I think there's such a narrative around rushing to get to parenthood because then you're younger when you're a parent and then maybe you have more energy. And that's valid. That's definitely a valid point. But there's this whole other piece of, who am I? Who am I just for me? Not as a mom, not as a parent, not as someone's provider. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And can I trust myself enough? Can I back myself enough? Can I really give myself a chance to live this part of my life as fully as I can? Block out all the noise and make sure that when I do become a parent, I can also look back and be so proud of the risks that I took, the chances that I took, the mistakes that I made, and the triumphs that I had because I was willing to give it a go. And I recognized how finite this time is, this period of my life is. So if that was helpful, I would love to hear from you. I would love to chat about this. Like I said, I really think it's something that we should be talking about more because I think a lot of people go into motherhood not really realizing how significant this change is. And they rush through this period that I would argue is one of the most beautiful periods of our life. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, and you can also leave a comment on this YouTube video. Please subscribe to our channel on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as subscribing to our channel. Leave us a review. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for listening. Thank you so much for coming along this ride as I as I practice talking about my thoughts, sharing my own reflections on my life and the things that I'm learning. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one.